Thank you very much, Jimmy. So yes, this session is all about mobility. The idea is to get an idea of where we can get some business value from the tools and usage we have in Microsoft 365. So let's put on your calendar the next edition of the SharePoint conference, which is now the Microsoft 365 Collab conference. Let's thank all our general sponsors for their help on crafting and helping us build such a great event. My name is Patrick Guimonet. I am from the Paris area. My job on a day-to-day basis is to be enterprise solution architect. I have my own company, Avalon, and we help our customers to get the value, the business value of all the tools and capabilities we have in Microsoft 365. I love to be speaker and organizer at many conferences and even worldwide. And I have in this activity created with some other guys what we call AOS community, which is mostly a community of speakers and organizers. You can follow me on Twitter or LinkedIn, for example. And I have been awarded by Microsoft MVP since 10 years. I love to ask during real event, where are you from? Because I think this is the key success factor for any Microsoft 365 project, is to create a discussion, a creative discussion between IT and business. If you do the project only on the IT part, you will get probably a good technical stuff, but nobody can probably use what you provide because they don't know what it is and all the capabilities you have in such a tool set. If you are from the business and you want to put the stuff online, you might get some very difficult time because there are some technical tricks to handle. So definitely in any company, to be successful with this type of product, you should have a discussion, a creative discussion between IT and business. Last but not least, about the introduction, I love breads. So I am from Paris, so I love the French baguette, but I know there are many other types of bread everywhere in the world. So I am really a bread eater. Let's jump into our subject. The subject is about mobility, and mobility is defined by the smartphone. And I love this cover from The Economist a few years ago, who said the smartphone is the defining technology of the age. If you just think about that, I find it very crazy that our period at some time in the future may be defined by not we are creating object with stone, for example, in the very old ages, or with people who have invented books or things like that. But our age will be definitely defined by the invention and the deployment of smartphone technology. So in our world, it's very important to get the whole capabilities to understand what we can do with all the tools we have in the cloud and all the capabilities we can get on our smartphone especially. So the agenda is first an introduction about the usage on a mobile first world. Then we will speak about security, and we will see that mobile is playing a great role in helping reach security. Then we will focus on mobile collaboration and communication, and we will give some examples and some demos of the tools we have in the toolset. And then we will finish with some overview of business process on the go. So usage. in a mobile-first world, it's very important to understand that our world has changed a lot since 40 years old, for example. In 1990, you had already computers, but as you can see in the picture, there are many more tools on your desk that can be used, that could be used for example, managing papers and things like that. Nowadays, you can only almost only have a phone and a PC, and then you can do everything. This is because our society is much more digitalized, and in many ways there are much more capabilities already digitalized in our world, which give us some great opportunities. Another very important, very cool pictures is on the left of this slide, where we can see that in 8 years, the world has really changed a lot, because in 2005, the Pope election was without any smartphone, or maybe only one in the right of the picture. And 8 years later, there was many people trying. Almost every people wanted to take a picture with their phone or their tablet of the Pope election. So this shows us that our world has changed radically. Microsoft has embraced definitely this trend, because they said at some point that they are doing everything mobile first, cloud first. So we should be aware that for any product that Microsoft is defining, is designing, is putting on the market, they have the phone in their mind. They have they always think about the capabilities they will put on the phone apps dedicated to any new tools they provide. So definitely they have really embraced the phone trend, and productivity on the go is just the new normal. What if you go directly on Office 365 and Microsoft 365? In the browser, people see in the waffle a lot of something like 25 to 30 tools, applications, services, you can call it, but they are not really well organized, because they are sorted only by alphabetical order, and some words that are given to the tools don't even give us any idea of what these tools is all about. For example, if you think about Word, okay, Word is the meaning of Word is clear for everybody, but it's not clear that with this tool you will be able to do some word processing or things like that. So especially in English, SharePoint, for example, does not mean everything, or Power Apps, okay, it means apps, but powerful apps, but not very clear what you can do with that, and that's almost the same for every application. Yammer, for example, is another great example, because Yammer doesn't mean anything as a normal word. So if you think about it, it's not easy for a standard end user coming to the toolset, to the portal, to understand what are the usage of the tools. On the phone, it's almost the same. The only difference is that you can define the ordering of your icon exactly as you want on the phone. So you can, for example, order it by the usage of them for you. So let's recap about what are the digital workplace typical usage. In fact, there are not so many usage. In Microsoft 365, I would say that everything is mostly defined by content management, or file management, or document management. because, as you know, the whole suite is coming from the Office world, and Office was dedicated to document management. There are also many tools dedicated to personal productivity, so you will be able to manage your own productivity with some of the tools, great tools we have. And then we have the two most not so well understood topics, which are communication and collaboration. If you think about it just a few minutes, in English, the two words have very similar sounds. And sometimes people don't think that they are really different topics. Communication, it's really about speaking, about giving a message to another people or to another group of people. But the answer is not really important, at least as a first intent. Whereas collaboration is exactly the opposite, if you think about it, because collaboration is more you go with a group of people together, and then you work on a project, you work on creating some documents, working on some specific task, and you try to achieve a common goal. So just to say, communication and collaboration are not at all the same, and so it's just normal to not use exactly the same tools or the same capabilities in the tools to achieve these goals. And another great usage is business process. The digitalization of business process is a very important topic that you can really well handle with Microsoft 365. At some point, mobility was thought as a specific usage. But nowadays, and especially for Microsoft, was, as I said already, totally embraced the mobility trend. Mobility is much more whole capabilities that you should be able to do every other usage in mobility. So mobility has really embraced all the whole usage, and with the Microsoft tools, you will be able to do all the usage in mobility. As I said, every tools has a mobile app or a mobile usage available. So what users should see or should understand, or this is, I think, to my mind, the most part of adoption that you should put in your any organization deploying Office 365 and Microsoft 365. You should give your end user the idea that there are some usage, and for each usage, you have some specific tools in the tool set. For example, for content management, if you think about it, you have only mostly two tools in the tool set that can be very useful and can be used to help you in your content management. SharePoint is to manage the Teams files, or as organization files, where OneDrive is mostly to manage your own files. I will not detail every tools on this slide, but I want to say that on this grid slide, we can see that, for example, Outlook is mostly a communication tool, and email is a communication tool. And sometimes we see some problems with too much email in companies and things like that. This is most of the time because people are trying to use email for what they are not intended to. And for example, they are trying to collaborate with email, which is not a good idea. Interesting thing here is that we can see that Teams is at the same time a collaboration tool and a communication tool. For example, in the communication tool, in the communication part of Teams, we can put conversation, we can put online meeting and things like that. Where in the collaboration part, obviously, this is the team space where you can create team, which are space to collaborate with your colleagues and things like that. So there are the two capabilities inside Teams, which is mostly what makes Teams a very great product. And business process, for sure, is the domain of Power Platform. we can also, and we will see that in the demo at the end of the session, that forms can also be used to streamline business process, and especially, and it can really, and it can be really interesting to use it in mobility. So, first part about the usage with about mobile usage. We will speak a little bit about security. Nowadays, passwords are a very weak link in the security chain, and probably the weakest link. And most of the breaches can leverage stolen or weak passwords. So a great and easy way to handle this problem is to use, for example, Microsoft Authenticator, which is an app you can install on any smartphone, on your smartphone. And then you can get access, a secured access to the tenant and to your environment. And there are two options, in fact, with Microsoft Authenticator. You can activate the multi-factor authentication, which is already a very good start. It prevents almost all identity attacks, but you can also activate what they call passwordless authentication, which is an authentication without password. So what about multi-factor authentication? Password with MFA is much more secure, but it's a little bit complicated to use for some users. So at some point, they have searched for a much easier way. So password by default have very low security because it's really easy to guess some password. But it's very convenient because everybody knows how to use a password and it's very easy to understand. Standard MFA is much higher security, but more inconvenient. So the solution seems to be to go to a world without password. This solution provides high security. And in fact, in the Microsoft world, there are three options to go to password-less world. It can be Windows 11 on your PC, it can be a FIDO2 security case, but if we focus on mobile solution, it's based on the app called Microsoft Authenticator. And Microsoft Authenticator is a very successful app for Microsoft. It's the passwordless anywhere solution. It's available since 2 years now, and there are many, many millions of downloads and usage. On this slide, you can see the typical approval signing, which is where you have to choose a number provided by the login screen. And definitely using this method, it's very easy and you don't need to have any password. So you can, I suggest that if you are not using it already, you can download Microsoft Authenticator on your mobile device. So let's go for a short demo. I made mostly my demos on screenshot because it's much easier, but definitely that's real demo. So when you try to log into a typical Office 365 account, here is what you get. You get approved sign-in, and he asks you to type a number. If your phone has been connected to using Microsoft Authenticator to your account, you get an alert on your phone and then a new sign-in request. And then you have to choose. It's very simple, but it's to be sure that you are not clicking yes, yes, yes on something without thinking about it. So it's just to verify that you are a real human people, and you think about what you click on. And the number 62 was OK. And then on the phone, you have another verification, which is based on your, for example, your Authenticator, Touch ID, or your Face ID, or things like that on iPhone, and similar stuff on Android. and then you are in. So when this is done, you are able to address and to work on your Office 365 environment. But in some cases, this can be not enough for security, for some security reason. For example, if you are connecting on a PC which have not been cleared for any malware and things like that, so you can activate some more protection with conditional access, for example. And we have the very interesting screenshot on the message on the top of this SharePoint site. This is a new capabilities. The system has detected that the device on which you are here is not, for example, joined to a domain, or is not compliant with Intune. So you can access to the site, but you can't, for example, download any document in the SharePoint site. So this is very interesting and very powerful capabilities. This gives us an overview of the type of capabilities we can get on about devices on the Zero Trust world. Devices are a very important part of the security, obviously. So you should have some good way to ensure that devices are healthy and compliant with the company regulation, the company governance, and things like that. It requires endpoint threat detection and anti-malware software. And when you are connecting to some special resources, it could be a great thing to check the device health and determine risk before granting access to the resources. So this is a typical set of conditions that we will want to address in a Zero Trust world. In the typical world we are in nowadays, people are doing what we call bring your own device, and they want to use their own personal device, a mobile phone, for example, to get access to the company. But this is not really compatible with the old what we call mobile device management system, because mobile device management system required to have a full device enrollment, and at some point your device is dedicated to the business of your company, which is probably what most of the users don't want. So they have added some more granular capabilities that are called mobile application management, and with mobile application management you can restrict access to very specific apps and say only these apps are secured and can be used to access Office 365. In case of any issue or problem, you can just wipe these apps, but without, for example, removing the personal picture of the user, which is much more cooler for a personal device. Nowadays, Intune have both capabilities, of course. So this is the two capabilities the two main features we want to have on a mobile device to implement a Zero Trust policy. To close this session, this part of the session, very interesting new cool capabilities we have in Outlook for mobile is that we have seen the sensitivity labeling arriving on Outlook mobile. So when you send an email on your Outlook mobile, you can define the sensitivity level of this message, typically the same way that you can do it on your desktop. So this is really cool capabilities. There are much more to say about Outlook Mobile, but I don't want to focus too much on these topics. There is a great session on Ignite, which is the source of this animation. And I would, if you are especially interested on Outlook Mobile, I would highly recommend you to have a look on this session, BRK 3311. This was the first type of usage. Security mobile is more and more secure nowadays, and they are helping us to achieve more security with, for example, passwordless or MFA. Mobile collaboration and communication is a second big topic for our end user and for our organization. Office 365, since very long time, allows easy collaboration within your organization, and information workers have been historically the main target of Office 365. They were, I would say, protected inside the Azure Active Directory space, within organization directory, and within the built-in enterprise security and compliance frontier. So it was somehow easy or not so difficult to protect them from the outside world. But nowadays the modern workforce is changing, and there are much more demand in two areas. First, we have more and more, we want more and more give access to what they call first-line workers to the same capabilities that information workers have already used since many years. So first-line workers need, for example, to fill some forms, to follow some regulation, to read some documents, but most of the time they are not connected to a standard PC. They are, we can expect them to use only a mobile phone or sometimes a tablet. If you think, for example, about an airline company, people are not supposed to be at their desk, but they are supposed to be in any airplane or airport or moving somewhere. So that's very important to provide first-line workers some capabilities that most of the capabilities that information workers have enjoyed since a long time. And more and more, the companies need to work with external networks of people like vendors, suppliers, partners, and this type of people usually don't or can't be inside the directory of the company. So we need some new capabilities to get people who are outside the directory in a sort of open directory to be able to interact, collaborate, and communicate with internal people. Everything should be in security. So let's see and focus on some of these capabilities with three very cool mobile apps. So I will demo some capabilities of SharePoint mobile apps, Teams mobile apps, and the new Office mobile apps. So let's first have a look on SharePoint Mobile. SharePoint Mobile is very cool apps that when you open it, you have a find screen, and you can definitely organize your search by you type what you are looking for in the search menu. And for example, here I am trying to find some templates, and it's already showing me some cool templates. When I do the search, I can see that everything is in the whole view, but I have also some capability of some new filtering capabilities in the site. So that's on the next slide. Here we have only the site found by the research on templates. Here we can see only the files with the template in their name. And here we can see the news with the word template in it. So that's very powerful search. And Here, for example, we can see the site with the template, marketing template. A very interesting thing about this site, I can show you here, is that it's fully mobile. It's fully accessible in mobile. For example, here I have a short video, and it's rendered in mobile as well. So this is the beauty of the modern SharePoint. Every site is a good-looking site in mobile as well as in the browser, in the desktop browser. Here, for example, I have access to some news on my environment, and I have a quick access of exploring project and things like that. I want to go to Project X, which is an important project on my company. And for example, I will create, for the demo purpose, I will create a new news. I will add some news about the Microsoft 365 Virtual Marathon. For example, here it's just a linked news, so it's getting information from the site directly. And the very cool thing is that I do that on my desktop, and every user connected to the SharePoint mobile app will get what you can see on the left screen here, is they get a notification on their mobile saying that someone has published some news on and if they click on the site, they can directly, they will directly be connected to the site. So that's very cool capabilities that allow someone in the central space of the company to push some information to everybody in the mobile, on the having a mobile connection to the, for example, the project, the X site here. So that's very cool, and here we can see the news. The news in the browser, in the SharePoint app as well. So that's definitely a very, very dedicated mobile capabilities we can find on the SharePoint app. Teams. Teams Mobile is very important for Microsoft because they want to put all the capabilities of Teams inside accessible from the mobile. And even more, here, so the chat is very important because chat is one of the, probably the most, still the most used capabilities in Teams. So here we have a chat with people about the organization of the event. And I want to specifically answer Joel on this message here. So it's very important to be able to answer that. But in the desktop version of Teams, I can't reply exactly on this message. This is a capabilities I have only in my Teams Mobile. So if you put your finger on the message, you get this menu, and you have the option to reply. And this produce an answer with taking a copy of the first message we are willing to answer. So this is a very interesting and very powerful capabilities only available on Teams Mobile. Another interesting thing about Teams Mobile is that you get the whole capability, almost the whole capabilities of the team space. For example, here I have Project X available, and I have some channel, and on the left, on the right, I have opened, for example, the budget channel, which is, as we can see, a private channel. So it's here, but I can go to some usual standard channel as well. So I get really the view of conversation I have in my desktop in very, very convenient way. But here, for example, I want to show the file, so the file tab. and more is the other tab created by for this channel in Teams. And here I can see, for example, I have a planner tab, I have a Power BI tab, and I have an Excel budget for the project tab. For any tab, you have some basic option. You can get a copy link to the tab. You can rename it or you can delete it. But if you note it, you can't create a tab on the mobile app. This is one of the most important features that you can do on mobile. You can't create a tab. Here, for example, I access a planner tab, so it's very easy to see my task available and the task I need to do. You have even more option, for example, in the planner tab, because you can do some specific settings, or you can open it in a browser if needed. But one of the most important and most interesting feature of mobile, of Teams Mobile, is definitely that you can have more than one account. So you can change from your main tenant to another tenant you are invited. For example, here I've been invited in ASL 365, but it's not showing up on the screenshot. But you can also add some more account. And for example, if I have an account on another tenant, not my main account and where I'm invited, but really another account, I can put it on my Teams Mobile at the same level, and it's very quick to change from one environment to the other. This capability should come to the desktop at some point, but it's not there in the desktop part, so it's a much important capabilities we have on the mobile version of Teams. We can see here that we have all the full capability, editing capabilities on a field you can find on the desktop, so you can add some bold or italic, for example, and things like that. Another very interesting capabilities in Teams Mobile is that you can take some picture, for example, directly from the camera of your phone, and this photo you take directly on Teams are not at all stored on your phone. So it can be very interesting in some compliance scenario, because you are sure that all the photo taken are already sent to the company, and they are stored at the company level in the tenant, and they are not stored on the phone. So for example, if the people taking the picture lose the phone, that's not an issue, because the picture has been saved already in Office 365 storage. Last but not least, Office Mobile. Office Mobile is a new capabilities, a new apps that will provide all the capabilities of Excel, Word, PowerPoint on the mobile, plus Office Lens, and plus some more capabilities. So on the right, you have the three main options available. You can manage notes, you can take some picture and make them recognized by Office Lens, which is integrated into Office Mobile. And you can obviously manage some documents. Here is a sample of some cool way to manage notes. So interesting thing is that notes you take on your phone, on your mobile phone, are available as well in the sticky notes apps in your Windows 10 environment. So if you connect with the same account on both sides, you will see very quickly a note you have taken on your phone. You will see it on the PC on the desktop. Here are full capabilities of option we get with Office Mobile. We can transfer files from PC to phone, and that's very interesting. We can convert the text in image, or scan document to PDF, or scan pictures, scan some stuff to PDF or scan an image and transform it to an Excel sheet. So that's very interesting. And we have some more capabilities around signature. You can directly sign a PDF document on your mobile. For the standard Word, Excel, PowerPoint files, you have mostly 3 options for each one. You can start from scanning something and it will produce a corresponding document. You can start from a blank document or you can start from a template. And if we think about, so let's have a look on the following slide on the different options. Here is, for example, a text. I have just taken a picture of the attendee guide of this conference, and the mobile app has created some cool Word version of it. So it's direct optical character recognition included in the app. This is a creation of an Excel sheet from a blank Excel sheet. So that's definitely very blank, but that's a needed option. And on the right side, you have some all the standard PowerPoint template from where you can start a cool presentation. Kaizala. That's the end of the demo part for the mobility and collaboration part in the mobility. I would love to speak about Kaizala a little bit. I think I have some problem. Jimmy, do you hear me? I'm still connected, so not sure if I'm connected or not. If you know Kaizala, it was a simple app introduced by Microsoft for emerging markets, but it was really similar in capabilities like what we have. Are you good, Patrick? I think I have lost the connection. So let's try again. Jimmy, are you there?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Okay, so let's try again to reshare my screen.
Sure.
Do you see it?
Yep.
Okay. I was closing my demo on Office Mobile, and then I was going to Kaizala, which was introduced at some point as a WhatsApp killer, and it was very inspired by WhatsApp capabilities. But the interesting thing about Kaizala is that we had it could be used to address some very cool use case, like training and onboarding people with only a smartphone, gathering field insight with survey and polls, and anything about first-line engagement, I think. So let's, at some point, Microsoft decided to incorporate most of the cool feature of Kaizala into Teams. So they will come to Teams, but we are not sure yet when, but it will come for sure. One cool capabilities around Kaizala is that you can create some typical flexible group, several type of groups. For example, you have flat groups, which is exactly what we have in Teams, but you also can create hierarchies of groups, and you can also create some hub and spoke groups. So this can be very interesting, especially on the government market. Kaizala has also a loosely coupled identity model. So, for example, you can ask to connect with some people in Kaizala using a mobile, and mobile phone. You don't need, as it is the case right now, to join Azure AD to have an email address. And if, for example, in this slide, you can join via SMS. Coming from Kaizala, you have extensibility with custom cards coming to Teams as well. So here is definitely the capabilities we can expect to find in Teams coming from the Kaizala experience. Last part of this session, I hope I am still on the display. It's business process on the go. Business process on the go is based mostly on the Power Platform. Power Platform is a very cool set of tools. Okay, sorry. Let's go. Let's mute this one. Okay. Power Platform is based on Power BI, Power Apps, Power Automate, and Power Virtual Agent tools. And that's mostly no-code tools that can help to digitalize and transform the business process inside the company. So every of these tools has a very cool mobile capabilities. But the interesting thing about Power Platform is that it provides a framework to recreate and to automate things in your company based on data. Most of the part of the new process should be a reflection about data. When you get some data generated at some point, you can use Power BI to analyze them. You can use Power Apps to act on them, and Flow to automate the whole stuff. And this is exactly what James Phillips said. There is a fundamental change occurring. This change is that data is now coming first. So I would recommend 3 patterns to digitalize your business process. The simple one is to use forms as the way to collect information and to analyze information. But you already can do some very cool stuff with Power Automate. The second option is to use the Power BI analysis capability. And the third one is definitely the standard Power Platform digitalization option. But definitely, it's not always needed to use those 3 tools for any process. You can do some. My message here is that you can do some simpler. You can go some simpler way. I just used to, in a real event, show a very cool way to capture some data. So, for example, and it will be available even if you see this session recorded. You can connect your phone on this QR code, and you will get access to a forms asking for your name and for some more information. For example, the mail information is obviously very important because the process will send an automatic email generated by Power Automate to this email. So if you do that, please provide a real email. Then you can collect some information about your usage on Office 365, very simple and anonymous usage. And this is a standard form. It can be filled on a mobile without any problem. At some point, the answers can be automated with Power Automate. So the example here is very simple because for each answer I just send an email, but you can imagine much more complicated things, of course, with Power Automate. And last part is to analyze the result using the default form display. But obviously, you can do much more complicated things using Power BI. So this was the most simple, I would say, the most simple mobile process we can imagine, but still can be very useful and very powerful in some case. I have a much more complicated example based on Power Apps, Power Automate, Power BI, but we don't have so much time to define it. I just want to show you on the right here a typical Teams, what I call a Teams business process, a Teams process. So this is a Teams dedicated to handle a business process. And here we can see that we have, in fact, 5 steps. Each step is shown by a tab in the Teams, and people who want to follow the process just have to follow each step on each tab in Teams, and that's a very cool way to make a process available to a whole company. So it's time to conclude. Follow the news and announcement, because there are so many news around the mobility in Office 365 offering. Test regularly the capabilities, because what was not working at some point will be available maybe 2 months later or things like that. And provide support if you are in the IT part, or if you are a consultant, provide support directly to your end users, because they are the people who you need to convince to use the capabilities. Thank you very much. And yes, your end user, make it as easy for your end user as it is possible, because if not, they will use probably some other tools, for example, which can be a problem in terms of security and compliance. Here it is. So I made it in 15 minutes. So I'm super cool. Jimmy, that's it.